So last month we had 129 contributions to add-ons projects. That's a really awesome. Thank you everyone who contributed. I'm seeing that we have a lot of people who are contributing a lot of patches to bugs, particularly web extensions, APIs, and also to AMO. So that's really exciting. It's lovely to see folks kind of really dive into the project and stick around for a little bit to fix some more stuff. So that's really cool. Also, thanks, Andres, for joining us. Really appreciate it. So I also wanted to call out our reviewer team who had above and beyond contributions in the last week. So a big special thanks to Erosman, Wild Sky, BJ, Mikkel, Geotsna, and Happy Ferret. So that's a combination of code reviewers and content reviewers who are helping make sure that everything on AMO is a great product for our end users to discover. So that's great. This is our last community meeting before our summer all hands. So our summer all hands is the time when the add-ons team, when everybody from Mozilla gets together in one place for a week. This is a great time for a lot of meeting, discussions, planning, collaboration. So this is kind of our heads down and work session when we're all kind of in the same place together. So the first 2 days of this year's summer all hands are going to be conference style. So there's going to be like some mini conferences happening. So not quite as many team meetings in the very beginning, but a lot of really great knowledge sharing and learning. And then the last 2 days are going to be reserved for team time. So that's when a lot of the breakout meetings are going to be happening. So I wanted to, I see that I totally jumped down on the agenda. Oh my God, I'm sorry about that. So we're actually gonna talk about that for a quick minute. As to the best of my knowledge, there is nothing that the add-ons team that's going to be discussing that is confidential. So what we're going to do is we're going to link to notes documents from various add-on team planning meetings from this central agenda document, which I've linked here on the agenda. So our notes will be open and transparent, and then at the end of the week, I'll write a blog post kind of summarizing what happened during the week. Any outcomes or anything that we're moving the ball on more forward. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about during the all hands, at least from the add-ons perspective, is some progress against some of our 2018 goals. So we're going to be talking about what the post-install experience for add-ons looks like for end users. So we've noticed that sometimes users install an add-on, and depending on the developer and what the developer wanted, sometimes you can't tell what's going on with that add-on. So we're going to be doing a little bit of work into that to see if we can help users kind of understand the benefits that the add-ons are giving them once they've been installed. We're going to talk about let's see, all things themes, I think is going to be a big one. Is it not complete theme, dynamic themes, static themes, the transition from lightweight themes to static themes. This has been driving folks a little crazy around these parts for a while. So how do we categorize themes? How do themes work? Jorge and Andreas, do you have anything you want to chime in about our theming projects?
So I mentioned this in an earlier meeting. Yeah, there are a couple of things going on. One is turning static themes live on AMO. That should happen soonish, probably end of this quarter, start of the next. After that, we would also turn on the migration of lightweight themes to static themes, which would convert every lightweight theme to the new format. And for next quarter, we have some plans for dynamic themes, which are now only being classified as extensions on AMO. The idea is to enable developers to classify them as either themes or extensions on AMO and possibly on Firefox.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I know that's been a lot of conversations around that, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so, and then we're going to be talking a little bit more about some of our user discovery projects. So the telemetry aware add-on recommender. So that's a project that kind of compares extensions that users have installed and recommends other extensions based on what's installed for particular users. And then we're also going to be working with some colleagues on the Open Innovation team about an add-on localization campaign where we've kind of identified some top extensions in various regions, and we're going to be localizing them to provide a better experience for users in those locales. So those are some of the highlights that we're going to be up to. We've got a lot of folks speaking about content at Mozilla. There's going to be a developer fair, which I keep referring to as the Renaissance Fair for Mozilla developers. So we'll report any interesting findings from that. And our own Mike Conca is going to be serving on a panel talking about winning the hearts and minds of developers. So that should be an interesting conversation. So that's pretty much what's going on with the all hands. Are there any questions? Okay, cool. Well, if any questions come up, please go ahead and let us know. If there's any particular questions that you would like to ask of the larger team, please feel free to leave a note in that overarching document hub for the all hands, and we'll do our best to keep our eyes on it and to get those questions answered when we're all there as a team. So yay, it should be a lot of fun, and we'll make some progress. So skipping back up the agenda really quickly, I just wanted to make a quick plug. Our extension developer survey launched last week. If you haven't taken it, please take a couple of minutes to complete it. It takes about less than 5 minutes, and your feedback is really helpful for helping us prioritize what we want to work on to improve the developer experience in the next year. So it would be really great to hear from you. And on a separate note, MozFest proposals are open. So in the past, we've had some folks give presentations about how to build extensions or how extensions can be used to further Mozilla's mission. So if you have something interesting that you'd like to share about extensions or Mozilla's mission or the intersection between arts, journalism, Mozilla's mission, and extensions, please go ahead and submit your proposal and give us a heads up so we know what to look for when the sessions are finally announced. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about reviewer points. There was a GitHub issue filed about updating reviewer points, and I'm going to turn it over to Andreas to talk a little bit about that.
Hello. So actually the GitHub issue was not about points. We're just adapting the weight for some of the criteria that are measured. Points is the thing that we would like to have a look at next. Probably not before the all hands, because it's only going to be a couple of days. But when we come back from the all hands, I would really take a closer look at what the points currently look like and if there's anything that we need to adapt to using the different weight and the kind of add-ons and their risk we have seen in the wild since we introduced post-review.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Sorry for misreading that and thinking it was a point.
No worries. Yeah, the two go kind of hand in hand, but it didn't make much sense to change the points first and then change the weighting, which would have another impact on the points again. And so we want to update the weighting first to try and get a little bit more accurate results or results that reflect more the reality of what we think is risky. and then update the points on based on that.
Excellent. Any questions about review weights? Okay, super cool. Glad that we're applying some things that we've learned since post review and updating those. That's super good. Next, I wanted to just quickly announce that Jorge has put together the Q3 plans for AMO, and I think earlier today there was a Q3 AMO planning session. So I was hoping that if Jorge was still with us, that maybe he could give us a high-level overview of what's in store for AMO coming up.
Sure. Let me find the doc. I'll share it. Just kidding. I keep forgetting that this is recorded because these are like the same people I just talked to like an hour ago. Yeah, so this doc is public. The meeting doc is also public and links to this. So this is the plan for Q3 real quick. So we're going to cover some changes to the rating and review flow to make it easier for users to review add-ons and to send support requests to developers and also send abuse reports to us, just to show them together so that users better understand what they should do when. So there's that. Dynamic themes. I mentioned that earlier, just about being able to classify them as themes or extensions depending on what they do. The style flow, that's just supporting a project that will allow people from non-Firefox browsers to install Firefox. Like if they go to AMO to a listing page and then they click on the Get Firefox button, once they install Firefox, they'll be able to go back to the add-on page easily and install the add-on that they were trying to install in the first place. Then some improvements to reviewer tools. This is just a backend for some further work that needs to happen to improve the file viewer and also to implement a search tool that both of which are right now kind of broken. Then improving the disco pane. This is just showing more content on the discovery pane, which is the Get Add-ons panel in the Add-ons Manager, which secretly is an AMO page. Then supporting web extension dictionaries. This is just supporting a different packaging format for dictionary add-ons. These other two, the admin tools and homepage curation, are probably going to be kicked out just because the list is kind of long right now, and we might try to get some other reviewer tool work in to replace that. So I'll skip those two. And then we're doing something new in Q3, which is to not focus only on big stuff, but also like the smaller P3s and P4s that we keep deferring and are not progressing as much as we would like. So these like the UX paper cuts and search relevancy, these are more like a collection of smaller issues that are going to be tackled as a project. So for UX, there are a lot of like paper cuts, like little things that need to be updated in the front end that are important, but they're never like a high priority. And then for search as well, we've been accumulating a lot of bugs related to search because the search in AMO is very quirky, and there are sometimes the results are like crazy. So there are a few things that can be done there to improve the relevancy of the results. Akismet is just an integration that we're looking into implementing for spam control. And then after that, these are more like really low-level code quality things, so I'm not can get a lot into them. And the last item is the migration of Thunderbird and SeaMonkey add-ons to a separate site that's ongoing. And the expectation is that we will be mostly done by the end of this month. But there's probably going to still be a lot of follow-up work coming up in the next quarter. It's mostly on the Thunderbird side, but we still need to support that. So that's still there.
Yeah. And then when that happens, we'll be sending an email to our add-on reviewers, letting them know that they have an option to continue reviewing Thunderbird add-ons, but that's going to be managed by the Thunderbird team on the Thunderbird site. So we'll be kicking that out of the AMO review process.
And that's it.
Awesome. I'm super interested in the improving relevancy for search results. You know, we get a lot of questions from people about how search works on AMO, so it'll be nice to be able to explain to them how it currently works and how we're proposing changes. Yay! Okay, I got a small smile for that, so I'll take it.
Oh, that's good, actually. If you can be transparent about how the search works on an AMO compared to Google Chrome, we got so many issues getting the feel and how to be on the top of search results on Google Chrome. There's no documentations. We had to change basically all our add-ons that were, all the UI that was inside our add-ons. Now we are opening a new tab on a website, because every time we were updating the add-on just for a small UI change or something like that, we saw our extension going down to the search result page in page 3 or page 4, and we don't have any idea why. So yeah, be transparent about this on AMO. That would be great.
Very cool. That can actually feed up into one of our goals too, which is helping developers connect with their end users and what they can do to improve their listing and discoverability. Which I think there's some ongoing work happening in that area too that may or may not impact submission flow. Or I think what are we doing right now? We're examining the submission flow and trying to see how we can help developers improve their listings in the submission flow.
That's separate.
Okay.
What's happening in Q3 is more working on the weights that we put on certain things, like one thing that's really obvious is that we're not showing exact matches near the top in many cases. So that's one thing, and the other is like, so not to get too technical, but like the search tool lets you like weigh different factors, like the different descriptions and tags and categories, and the way that we're weighing it now seems to be backwards. So so those are things that are probably going to be worked on this quarter. There's a larger project about like how we handle all of our metadata and how search and navigation on the website works. This is what Meridol and company are working on, but that's still being worked on, and the idea is to start actually implementing something in Q4.
Super cool. Okay. And then I see that Andreas has added a bullet point about reviewer onboarding. Andreas, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have been talking about this for a while, I know, but we are making some good progress now. Philip has put a bunch of time into basically rewriting the entire review guide, which is a lot of effort. And I have been looking closer into the assessment, so we're now getting the right tools set up for us for doing assessment. I have been looking at the questions that we would put into the assessment quiz. and yeah, just working on these remaining two parts, and I think then after that's done, we'll likely look for a few beta testers to see where we could optimize the process, and what works well at that point. And I think after that, we will be ready to reopen onboarding again.
So we're getting closer. We're getting closer.
Yeah, so just so you get a feeling, like the current document that Philip is working on for the reviewer guide, that's about 15 pages. So it's going to be quite extensive, but that also means it is a lot of work. And of course, we have to like iterate a couple of times to optimize it and come up with the right decisions for a few things that are still open. But yeah, things are certainly moving fast now.
So this document, it's basically examples of what we need to do regarding on the new policies document, which is not always easy to understand when you check code.
That is part of it, but it's basically the entire review guide rewritten. So it doesn't only cover certain decisions for certain examples we picked out. And by the way, if you like come across things that you're unsure about, or where you would think that would be a good thing to document, please shoot it our way, because we would be very happy to take a look at that and add it to the review guides, or add it to another document so that everyone can profit from that. But it is basically really just like what we have on the wiki right now, but just entirely rewritten for focusing on the post-review process, the current tools, because a few things have changed over the years, and post-review and web extensions, of course. So it is not only review decisions, that's going to be part of it, but also how do you review, what are canned responses, how do you use canned responses, how do you communicate with the developer, basic information on how you review the tools, general process information on what are actually the steps that are involved in reviewing, and so on. So it's going to be a hopefully as complete as possible guide to reviewing.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm trying to do when I'm reviewing this is make sure that it's not super intimidating to new users. We want it to be, or new reviewers. We want it to be as complete as possible, so that people feel confident that they've got like a good set of notes to look at when they're actually like in the field doing reviews. But we certainly don't want people to take a look at the document and panic because it's long and intimidating. So we are trying to make it as friendly as possible for new reviewers. Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind.
It is. When I've started, if all I had was the policies and looking at code without the guide, it would have been quite difficult. So yeah, that's a good thing to get updated.
Yeah. And I think, I think that once people go through kind of the guide generally, like having that on hand once or twice will be good. But I think that the real value is going to be the addition of the review decisions and like some common scenarios that you can refer back to and just actually have that written out somewhere. That'll be really good.
Is it something that we want to keep private so that developers don't take this guide as a way to get around our reviews?
That's a good question. I actually don't think we need to make it private. I think if we can be as transparent as possible with developers about like what we're looking for, because at the end of the day, what we want is people to successfully be able to host extensions on AMO. So it's really important to me that people understand how decisions get made. And the fact of the matter is if somebody is in violation of a policy, like particularly a no surprises policy, or if somebody's trying to do spam, like that's covered, like that's a rejectable thing. And I think we are, I think transparency in that area is ultimately a good thing. Like I think we have a lot of coverage for taking down content that we don't want listed on AMO.
Yep, absolutely. So it's going to be basically at the same location that the current review guide is in the wiki somewhere under add-on reviewers. So it's all going to be.
Yeah, it should be cool. So in the last 3 minutes, I just want to give a shout out. We've got a couple of really interesting events around extension development coming up. A lot of stuff in France that's going to be hosted by Christophe. So that's really awesome. Looks like Trishel's also going to be speaking at a couple of conferences this summer, including a conference that has a special place in my heart, the Scotland JS in Edinburgh. If you ever have a chance to go, totally recommend it. Super nice people and it's super pretty. And I just wanted to also open up the floor for any other questions or comments or folks sharing what's going on in their world. Okay, very cool then. So we'll catch up next week. As always, if there's any questions, please feel free to let us know. We'll be back sometime after the all hands. So hi, Shabam, nice to see you. So we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Bye-bye.
Bye.